Good morning, spiritual companions. This morning, we are reading The Blissful Life as realized through the teachings of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj, compiled with commentary and notes by Robert Powell. Biographical details. Not too much is known about Maharaj's personal life, especially the part before he became a spiritual teacher. For one thing, he never assigned it the slightest importance. And for another, Maharaj lived the life of the average Indian working man and householder, quite unlike the typical guru. The following is therefore a bare outline, although some further details are given in I Am That, first American edition by the Acorn Press, Durham, North Carolina, 1982. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj was born in Bombay, March 1897. The date is not certain, and was brought up in a village south of Bombay. He was given the name Maruti. Both his parents were very religious in the orthodox sense. As a boy, Maruti helped his father, who was a small farmer, with various farming chores. The father died in 1915, leaving behind his widow, Maruti, and his 3 brothers and 2 sisters. In 1924, Maruti married, from which marriage were born a son and 3 daughters. Maruti, after some time clerking in an office, opened a shop where he sold children's clothing, tobacco, and handmade cigarettes, so-called bidis. Later, he operated several more shops of a similar type. From a young age, the boy had shown a keen interest in everything that went on around him. Early in his childhood, and later as a businessman, Maruti had made friends with men of strong spiritual inclination. His many discussions on religion and philosophical topics with these men sharpened his inquisitive mind and kindled a spiritual fire in him. At the age of 34, he met his guru, and by 37 he had realized himself, whereupon Maruti took the name Nisargadatta. In I Am That, in answer to a question, a very potent description is given of this transformation, which found him whole, needing nothing anymore. The Master's death. On Tuesday, September 8th, 1981, at 7:30 in the evening, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj passed away peacefully at his abode in Bombay. A special bulletin issued after his death read partly as follows. 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 9th of September, heralded thousands of devotees singing the Lord's praise, headed by an exquisitely decorated lorry and filled with fresh, fragrant garlands, wherein was serenely seated Sri Maharaj. All around him were roses and garlands and devotees. The procession slowly wended its way to Banganji, headed by a musical band and dancing devotees. This is another day for joy, since wisdom never dies, but remains as a fresh spring. Maharaj left behind a son and a daughter, his wife and 2 other daughters having preceded him in death. Epitaph. What is the significance of the event of September 8th, 1981? For those who accept the world appearance as real, who identify themselves with a body and see other bodies as other selves, death is always an unmitigated calamity. Holding each creature to be an independent entity that has an existence separate from the rest of the universe, death is evil itself and cannot logically be anything else. For them, Maharaj was and is no more. the end of a cruelly destructive process. For those who understand the essence of his teaching and perceive the manifold names and shapes that in their totality make up the world as a mere apparition without inherent substance, Maruti died, not in 1981, but many years before, at the time he took the name Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj, and they know that, having died once, he cannot die again. For them, Maharaj is. Maybe that day in September occasioned a certain sadness, not for Maharaj's sake, however, but for their own. For did not Maharaj once state, "Pity the living, never the dead"? More importantly, they know where to search for their beloved Maharaj at any time, in the heart, for he is no other than their very self. There can be no common ground between these two entirely opposite views. One of the purposes of this book is to present the reader with a clear choice in the matter, so that he may be able to decide what kind of world he wishes to create for himself and others. Mr. S. Dixit, in his preface to the second edition of I Am That, writes, "Any of these 2 volumes, any single talk, any single page of the book may show the reader the path to the supreme bliss." I would like to take this one step further by adding, any single paragraph, any of Maharaj's aphorisms may jolt the reader sufficiently to wake him up from his dream of unreality. It all depends whether one is prepared to dig deep enough. In this connection, Maharaj says so pointedly, "To find water, you do not dig small pits all over the place, but drill deep in one place only." Page 202. The total body of Maharaj's published teachings, although substantial, is not as large as that of certain other spiritual teachers. Therefore, some people are hoping that further discourses by Maharaj will be unearthed. Although such finds would represent exciting discoveries, to this writer, it is much more important at this stage to make the most of the material that Friedman has so painstakingly recorded and translated into English. Maybe, if properly digested and taken to heart, the need for ever studying additional texts will then be seen in quite a different light. This would be in accordance with the vertical rather than the horizontal approach to the subject matter, always emphasized by Maharaj. In Part 2, I present a compilation of Sri Nisargadatta's aphorisms based upon I Am That. Not only does each of these contain a depth of wisdom, but collectively they represent a concise statement of basic aspects of Maharaj's teaching. Whenever possible, I have grouped the aphorisms together in such a way as to highlight their interrelatedness, thus increasing their significance as a teaching tool. Part 2. Sayings that may turn your life around. Gems from Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj's conversations, with some annotations from the compiler. In my world, there is community, insight, love, real quality. The individual is the total. The totality is in the individual. All are one, and the one is all. Reader says, I will leave some empty space in between these so you have time to digest. To remember what needs to be remembered is the secret of success. You come to it through earnestness. Knowing the world to be a part of myself, I pay it no more attention than you pay to the food you have eaten. The compiler says, we are bound to the world because of our overwhelming interest in it. Yet we created that world ourselves in the first place through imagination. In our ignorance, we regard the world as though it were something outside and apart from ourselves, and as though this interest, this knowledge, could enrich us. We must learn to shift our focus of attention from the world to the very phenomenon of our interest in it. Nisarga. Mind is interested in what happens, while awareness is interested in the mind itself. The child is after the toy, but the mother watches the child, not the toy. Compiler. If you truly love a child, you will want to understand him. And in order to understand him, you have to observe his behavior with the least possible intervention. Similarly, if you wish to be free, you need to know how the mind ever produces its own bondage. For this, the mind must be under close and constant surveillance. Just like the child's toy was of no importance in understanding him, so any one particular thought is of no importance in understanding the mind as a whole. To be absorbed or lost in such thought, content is like being caught off guard. One stops being an impartial observer of the general mechanism of the mind. Nisarga. To lose entirely all interest in knowledge results in omniscience. End of today's reading.